Another day, another resignation, because Donald Trump's administration remains buried under the chaos he created through cover-up after cover-up. This time, it's Epstein once again causing serious problems that are now threatening to bring his administration to an end. As Trump's own chief of staff clearly understands, everyone inside his White House is at war with one another, all scrambling to save themselves. That panic is exactly why yet another top official has resigned following a shocking Epstein-related leak that has everyone terrified of what may come next. We're going to break down what led to this resignation. But before we do, please take a moment to like this video, and if you enjoy the channel, hit that subscribe button. It really helps support our work. And before we get into the resignation itself, we need to start with the root cause of it all, which Ro Khanna laid out clearly while discussing Epstein and what Susie Wiles revealed in Vanity Fair.
You remember the Armed Services Committee? Apparently, you're going to be able to get a look at it tomorrow.
That is right. I'm going to see it tomorrow. But you know the hypocrisy here, Lawrence? Rubio and Hegseth are lecturing us about how they're trying to stop cocaine coming into the United States, that they're killing people doing this and shooting down boats. At most, they have stopped maybe 10 tons of cocaine. And yet, Donald Trump has pardoned. He pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was convicted for putting in 400 tons of cocaine into the United States. So give me a break. On the one hand, you're saying you want to stop cocaine. On the other hand, you're pardoning the former president of Honduras who brought in 400 tons of cocaine. It just does not add up.
I appreciate how Ro Khanna points out the obvious truth in what Susie Wiles is effectively admitting, that Donald Trump was gullible enough to be manipulated by Ghislaine Maxwell. And that's exactly what happened. Trump was either flattered into it, or there was some kind of mutually beneficial arrangement. We know Maxwell has every incentive to protect herself. She's housed in what amounts to a luxury prison with special privileges, a dog, yoga, and even food delivery. Trump tried and failed to cover up his connection to Epstein and Maxwell, but instead of making it disappear, he only drew more attention to it. And now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is adding to that spotlight, raising questions about a list Maxwell claims doesn't exist, a claim Trump also repeats, while suggesting a very different reality.
You mentioned the few places where you've broken with him, including on the Epstein files and having those released. The DOJ deadline is Friday. And Susie Wiles was actually pretty critical of the Justice Department's handling of this so far. She said there is no client list, and it sure as hell wasn't on Pam Bondi's desk. Why do you think the Attorney General said that it was then?
I'm not sure. I don't have specifics on that, but I've listened to the women themselves. And the women themselves, a smaller portion of them, which is, there's a lot of them. They think there's around 1,000 victims. But a smaller portion of these women say that there is a list of men, rich, powerful men, that they were passed around to. Now, that's a list that they have kept to themselves, frankly, because they're terrified. These women don't have money to pay attorneys if they get sued. Every expense comes out of their own pockets. And after death threats that I've received supporting and keeping my name on the discharge petition, for the first time, I can understand exactly what they've been intimidated by for so many years. So as far as what Susie Wiles and Pam Bondi were talking, I can't speak to specifics on that, but I can speak to what the women have told me.
So Susie Wiles, by admitting that Donald Trump was in his younger years, and by that she means when he was 50, friends with Epstein. And Marjorie Taylor Greene talking again about this Epstein list. The Epstein list that Pam Bondi said was on her desk and then somehow disappeared is once again bringing this scandal into the public view. right? There is so much happening in Donald Trump's administration. Sometimes it's hard to narrow it down, but something that just did is the man who is resigning seemingly over this botched release of half-hearted Epstein files. And it's Dan Bonino and his resignation, which is happening right now. He is reportedly packing up his desk as you are watching this video, shares a lot about how Donald Trump is going to try to go forward with the Epstein scandal, and I want to take a look at the resignation. Dan Bonino is boxing up his FBI office as exit talks grow. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bonino is clearing out his office after reportedly admitting he will be leaving the bureau within weeks, according to the New York Times. Amid the never-ending saga surrounding the won't they release of the Epstein files, Bonino has told people around him he could depart as soon as this week or late as mid-January, the Times reported. The outlet said the former Secret Service agent has already begun sending office knickknacks and other personal items back to Florida, where he intends to return to pro-Trump broadcasting ahead of the 2026 midterms. Trump-friendly outlet Fox Propaganda, citing sources, has disputed that Bonino's office is already empty, but conceded that his imminent departure is a possibility. It was reported last week by former political journalist Rachel Bade that Bonino was to be Trump's fall guy over Epstein. Although the FBI denied this to be the case to the Daily Beast in the strongest terms, an FBI source told the Daily Beast on Wednesday, "While we all serve at the pleasure of the president, of course, it's not in any way true. Bonino is being axed over the Epstein files or anything else. If and when he does leave, it would be on his own. On his own, yes. This was absolutely Dan Bongino's decision to leave. And to me, his resignation highlights a few key things. First, Donald Trump clearly understands that he needs a fall guy. Second, while I don't consider Bongino particularly smart, he does understand the MAGA ecosystem well enough to know when to put distance between himself and a scandal. He recognizes that the Epstein cover-up is currently the single biggest liability for MAGA. It's not stripping people of health care. It's not racism or transphobia. Those are things they openly embrace. It's not even proximity to pedophiles, which they've already excused. What MAGA sees as the ultimate sin is the lie and the cover-up itself, keeping the truth from their own base. That's what they're furious about right now. Bongino read the room and understood that if he wants to continue as a MAGA podcaster, if he wants to protect the grift, which is sacred in MAGA world, he had to get out. His exit also creates an opening for Trump to further shake up the FBI, with reports suggesting Kash Patel may be next on the chopping block. All of this is just another example of the constant upheaval and chaos inside Trump's White House. And it's not limited to the FBI. His chief of staff situation is just as revealing, something Lawrence O'Donnell summed up perfectly in a segment last night.
Wiles said, quote, "He wants to keep on blowing boats up until Maduro cries uncle, and people way smarter than me on that say that he will." It'd be nice to think there are people way smarter than Susie Wiles working for Donald Trump, but there is no evidence of that. Susie Wiles says that the Trump reason for killing people in small boats is regime change, not to stop drug trafficking, as Donald Trump has claimed. Of course, it is impossible to stop drug trafficking by randomly shooting at small boats that might or might not be carrying cocaine, which is not one of the real killer drugs that makes it to the United States, like fentanyl. That's the most deadly illicit drug in America, fentanyl. And tonight, Donald Trump announced that he intends to impose a naval blockade on oil tankers in and around Venezuela. So now it's about oil and not about drugs. Susie Wiles said that J.D. Vance's conversion from someone who used to compare Donald Trump to Hitler to a Trump worshiper was, quote, sort of political. He's an avowed ketamine user, is how Susie Wiles explained Elon Musk's depraved destruction of the United States Agency for International Development. Quote, "I was initially aghast," Wiles told me, "because I think anybody that pays attention to government and has ever paid attention to USAID believed, as I did, that they do very good work. Yes, they do. Life-saving work. Yes, they did. They did very good work. They were saving lives every day, and now thousands of people are dying because Susie Wiles just watched as Elon Musk did whatever he wanted to do. Not the way I would do it," is what she said about Musk's crushing USAID. What did Donald Trump know about the United States Agency for International Development? Susie Wiles said, "The president doesn't know and never will. He doesn't know the details of these smallish agencies." Donald Trump doesn't know and never will know what USAID was doing before he destroyed it. He does not know that USAID was saving lives by the thousands. Bill Gates described what Elon Musk did to USAID as the world's richest man killing the world's poorest children, and Susie Wiles helped Elon Musk in, as Bill Gates put it, killing the world's poorest children. One unnamed former Republican White House chief of staff told Chris Whipple, "I find that immoral." Immoral is what they do. Immoral is Donald Trump's brand. And Susie Wiles believes that her job is not to serve the national interest. She believes her job is to serve Donald Trump, no matter how sick and perverse Donald Trump's desires are. I find that immoral.
Everything is collapsing around Donald Trump, and it's becoming nearly impossible for him to find a meaningful fall guy when everyone in his administration is simply an extension of him. There's no one left to blame when every decision traces back to Trump himself. That also makes any cover-up far harder to pull off, especially when the only people he surrounds himself with are wildly incompetent. That's the reality of Donald Trump's administration, and it's exactly why it's imploding. And honestly, we're going to enjoy watching it happen, especially on this well-dressed Wednesday. If you want to support the show and the gimmicks still to come, and yes, there are more on the way. One may even involve Buddy the Elf. Stay tuned. As always, hit subscribe, leave a like, and if you made it to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.